So this more or less is where we left off yesterday or last week. And I did, what I ended up doing was I ended up filling in the rest of the light fixtures that I didn't go over specifically. One fixture that I hope you were all able to catch was this C fixture over here. This is a wall washer. And what the arrow on it indicates, and the arrows don't always look like this on a wall washer. Sometimes they just look like a little arrow. But in this case, the arrows look like that. And that indicates the direction of the washer, you know, which wall it's going to wash. So let me just open up my blocks. And oh, I'm right there. So all that wall washer was just the regular the 6-inch can light. And let me just insert one here. And then we just needed to bring in the arrow. So we just drag that in, put it at the insertion point, and I didn't turn rotation on, but you would just rotate it to the 27 degrees. So that was just I know I didn't talk about that, but hopefully you were able to figure that one out. All right. So this area I did not do any lighting in, and I'm going to just kind of go through it this morning just to make sure that you are all on board and understand exactly how it's done. So if you do look at the handout that shows the lighting, and hold on, just bear with me as I pull it up on my screen here, or zoom in on it a little more so I can read it. There are a bunch of dimensions on it, and the way to do it is with drawing guidelines or offsetting existing lines and using them as guidelines. So I'm going to start from the right side here. Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change my UCS to that 27 degrees. So I'm going to make sure that I have my polar tracking on, because polar tracking has that 27 degrees already built into it. And then what I'll do is on my, oops, let me just collapse that. On my UCS icon in the lower right, and if you don't have the UCS icon, just go to your View tab and then make sure UCS icon is highlighted or checked over here. What I'll do is right-click on it, and then I'm going to rotate around the Z axis, and then I will just snap. There it is. It's snapping right to the 27 degrees. Did I snap to 27? It's just draw a line to make sure. Yes, I did. Okay, so now I'm on that 27 degree axis, and I'm going to just start offsetting some lines here, and I'll just use the existing lines I've got here to locate some of those fixtures. So I'll start on the right side, and I've got just, there's a line right there, and that first row is 3 feet off that wall, so I will just offset 3 feet or 36 inches. I'll do that again. And so that was a poly line, so it went around both sides. So I'm going to explode that. I'll just type X for explode. Now I've got 2 lines, and this one was 3'4". So this is 3 feet, and I'm just going to move this down 4 inches. So that this distance is from this line to this line is 3'4". And so let's start with those. And I've got, I'll just bring in the 6-inch here, and I need, so now these lights are we're gonna label these B, and these are just like the can lights that are hanging from the ceiling, but these have a stem, you know, so that they'll be hanging down, because this ceiling over here is a lot higher than the ceiling over here. So I'm labeling that B, and now I'm just going to move it from the center of it to that intersection there. I don't think I got that right. There we go. And then let me just zoom out a little bit. So the next one is 18 feet. So I'll just copy this one. And I'll just come down without, I'll put my ortho on here. I'll just come down 18 feet. I've got that one. And then another 18 feet. So I'll just copy this. 18 feet. So there, those are those lights right there. And then it looks like I've got 9 feet running across in this direction. So let's just copy in this direction 9 feet. And then 9 more feet would be, oh, it's 9 feet plus 10 feet. Well, I'll just do it this way. Copy 10 feet. And then 9 feet. And then 9 more feet. So that would be 18 feet. And let me just pan over here on my handout. Oh, that's it. And then so then I've got this fixture, and I've got another one that comes down here 9 feet. So I'll just copy that fixture down 9 feet. And then another 9 feet, which would be 18 feet from the start point. And then looks like I've got 2 more fixtures, and those are 9 feet, or I'm going to assume that they line up with this fixture here. So let's copy this over 9 feet. And then 18 feet. And I've got one more over here, 9 feet. Okay, good. Then what? I'm going to have some small cans that are going to be running right over the reception desk here. And those are 6'6" off this back wall. So let's just offset the back wall. Offset 6'6". There it is. And they'll be 4 feet from the center. So let's just draw. I'm just going to locate the center. Let's come back here. So, and those are the little, there are these little mini pendants, more probably decorative pendants. So I'm just going to bring one of those in here and move it so that the center of it is right there. And then I'll copy it over 4 feet. And I'll copy it this direction 4 feet. Beautiful. And then we've got 3 of those little mini pendants, or 3 wall washers, actually, sorry. So I've got a wall washer over here. So let's copy this one. And let's put it, I'm just going to put it, let me turn off my ortho here. Just going to put it here, and then I'll move it down. Put my ortho back on, so that I'm right on axis. And then I'll just rotate the little arrow here from the center point. And then I think that's probably good. And then I'll move those, copy these over 4 feet that direction. Oh, I moved. All right, that's okay. Copy 4 feet. And then 4 more feet, which would be 8 feet. And then I can get rid of these little guidelines I've been using. And I've got a guideline up here and over here. So we're well on our way, right? Let's see. I've got some pendants that are going to be more or less centered over these tables, these coffee tables here. And I've got them dimensioned exactly. So let's see if we can figure those out. Okay, so they're from this wall, they're 10'9". So let's offset 10'9". You know what? Actually, I'm just gonna explode that line. So I'm not okay. So offset 10'9" there. And let's see, there is the first one is 9'5". Oh, I've got another light over here, don't I? So let's copy that over. Copy this down 9 feet. And then so the first light is going to be 10'5" from the center line of this light. So what do we do? Well, let's just draw a little guideline. And I'll just draw a guideline from the center, just coming off some distance. And now we can just offset that, right? So let's just offset, what is it, 9'5". We drew that almost exactly right. And then we've got another one that is 16.5, 16'6". There. And then we've got those pendants. Where have I got one here? I'll just copy this one right from the center to that intersection. And then to this intersection here. Good. So now all I need to do is move. Well, I don't know how I'm going to move this. So that's a little wonky, I think. What's wonky about it? Hold on, let me turn off my ortho. What I don't like about this is that my area rug is hitting that column. So what I would have to do is I'd have to move this area rug, or I would have to move this light fixture. But that's what it says on the handout, so I'm going to hold to it, and that'll be fine. But if I were the designer on this, I would make some adjustments. I guess I'll move it so it's where we'd really want it. Okay. So I think, oh, the other thing, and this was the question, was there are some pendants over here by these little these seats over here. So they are 5'3" off of the off of the glass line here of this glass wall, and they are centered exactly on these mullions. If you remember, we sort of set these. We mirrored this set right off the center line of that mullion so that they would be exactly centered on that mullion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line straight up 5'3", and then I mean, you could offset and then you could draw another line straight up to intersect it, but I'm going to draw a line 5'3" right up there. So if I draw a line, let me go to my home ribbon and go to line, and I'll start right at the midpoint there. So if I'm drawing a line, I want to turn ortho on here to get that line straight, it's going this way, right? And I don't want it to do that. I want it to go perpendicular to that line. So again, I could offset 5'3", right? And then I would just draw a line from that midpoint to perpendicular, or well, it's going to the midpoint, which is fine, but not always. So what I would do, if I want to force it to go to perpendicular, I will type P-E-R-P, perp, and now it'll go perpendicular to it. So that line would be 5'3", and it's going exactly perpendicular. But the way I was going to do it is to change my UCS back temporarily. So I'll just right click on it and I will go up here to world. The world UCS is back to X and Y vertically. And then I would just draw a line up 5'3", right from that midpoint. And then while I'm at it, there's another pendant 13 feet. So I'll just go up here 13 feet. And there's one more pendant over here, and that also is 5'3". First, right from that midpoint, 5'3". And if I want to turn my UCS back on, simple enough, I will just right click. But this time, I don't really need to go to rotate axis Z. I can just go up here to previous, and it remembers that last UCS setting that we put in. So it just automatically returned to the 27 degrees. But either way would work. Either offsetting this line up and then drawing a line perpendicular to it, or changing your UCS, drawing those lines straight up. And then I'm just going to copy one of these pendants. I got to get rid of those center lines there, or those guidelines. There, and there. And I am done. I will erase those guidelines. And we are good. So I think that's pretty much the lighting. The only thing that we need to do is to plop some dimensions in. So where do we put the dimensions? Well, sorry, I took a sip of coffee. By all rights, the dimensions and dimension notes, etc., should go on their own layer. But since we know that the only time we will look at the lighting fixtures is when we have the dimensions showing. So I'm just going to leave those dimensions on the lighting layer. I'm just going to keep them on the same layer, and we'll be good. So we're going to add a bunch of dimensions in this area, but the question is, why don't we have a bunch of dimensions in this area? How come there's little to no dimensioning in this area? Anyone want to take a stab at the answer to that?
Because you can figure out how far it's placed by just counting the grid, because it's 2 feet.
You're absolutely right. That's right. So once they get the grid in, then they will just count squares to figure out where the light fixtures are. The only thing that we do need to tell them, and I believe is not shown on this plan, is the starting point of that grid. So I'm going to, well, first of all, I'm going to do my dimensioning on my lighting plan in white model space. So I'm going to switch over here. And I'll zoom in. And the start point, remember, we started right here. We started with this line and with this line. So we need to identify where the starting point of this grid is. And what I would do is I would put a dimension here and a dimension here. So let's just do that. So first, let me make sure that I'm on my right layer. I'm going to go onto my lighting layer. And let me go over to my annotate tab and go to linear dimensions. And I'm going to plop a dimension in here. Oops. Okay. So why is it doing this? Well, it's because take a look at my UCS. My UCS is at world, and I am drawing these dimensions on that angle. So what I'm going to do, and I think most of my dimensions are going to be drawn at that angle. So what I will do is I will change my UCS in this viewport.
Paul, could Could you change from linear to aligned as well?
Yes, yes, you could, but the reason is what the question was is where's my line dimension here? Is that aligned? You know, I'm used to using another version of AutoCAD and I don't use it very often. Oh, there it is. So what I could do with my UCS set to world coordinate system, I could choose align dimension. And then what an align dimension will do is it'll align itself from the 2 points that I select. So if I select this point and this point, there it is. It puts in an align dimension for me. I'll do it again here. So I'll go from here to here. Now that's kind of in the way, so what I will do is I'm just going to select this dimension and then move here. It's not cooperating with me. You know, never cooperates with me. Well, there we go. Yeah. And that would be perfectly fine. But the only reason that I'm not doing it is most of my dimensions here are going to be on that angle. So most of them would be aligned. So I think it's going to be a little easier for me to go back to just a linear dimension and change my UCS for the time being. So I'm just going to right click on here. I think I am. And then again, I will rotate my axis along the Z, and I want to make sure that I've got my there. So now I can just plop in a bunch of dimensions, and we're dimensioning in a way so that the contractor knows where to put these lights. So we only want to put in dimensions that we need to in order to convey information to the contractor. So I'm going to start here. And my dimensions may not be, oops, that's 3-1. So for some reason, oh, I know why. Because I went to the wrong line. So let me go here. So I'll put that dimension down there. And let's hope that these work okay. So I'm going to do continue here. And what I'm trying to do is get right to the center of those dimensions, because what we want to do is we want to use center lines, because that's what the contractor is going to look for. He's going to look for the center lines. Okay, so I don't like this because it's, well, actually it's, no, I am going to move it up a little bit. And then I'll move this up. I try my best to get strings of dimensions, or my dimensions lined up in strings. And this is called a dimension string, these all lined up. And that's the ideal way to do dimensioning. It's easier to read in the end, and it is, it just looks cleaner. Again, I'm at 211 for some reason. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna, whatever it is. So this dimension is kind of upside down, isn't it? And let me just see if I can't move the text of this dimension here. I'm just going to move that here. So I'm not happy with that dimension being upside down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my properties over here. I have the dimension selected, and I'm going to go over to my properties, and let's see if I can find it. or text. Text style, here. Text view direction is set to left to right. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch that right to left. So now that text is my dimensions are really not cooperating with me today. All right. I'm going to carry on. So
Well, isn't that supposed to be 3 feet 4 inches? That dimension shouldn't
yeah,
be too.
it is. And you know what? I know why. Oh, no, I don't know why. You're right. It should be. Let me just offset 3'4". So why did I do that? I'm not entirely sure.
It looks like you put the edge of the lights on that line instead of centering them. Maybe that's what happened. Oh no, never mind.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't know where that came from, but you are right. Thank you for catching that.
I'm having deja vu, and I feel like that happened when I did it too. I don't know why.
Really?
I always dimension,
Yes.
like I kind of have started with these like dimensioning while I insert these, because and like some of the other stuff I'll like dimension while I go along, because these you can copy and paste, so you don't have to switch between layers. So you can be on your dimension layer while you like copy these in, and then every one you place you can like
Yeah.
mention, because then you don't like if you make a mistake like this, because sometimes I feel like on like the angle or whatever, it can be kind of like sometimes you can accidentally like put something in the wrong place, even though you like did your O tracking to like the 3'4" you were supposed to, but then for some
Yeah.
reason, like what Paul did, it just like for some reason didn't get put right. And rather than like going back and doing it, like realizing your mistake after you've gotten it all done, I like to dimension as I go so that I can like check. Because literally while I was doing this, I was dimensioning because I did the same thing where I was like, for some reason, not exact when I was placing things.
Yeah. Yes, it is a nice self check. Like right here, I have 1711. So is that going to the center? It is. So what I need to do is I kind of need to move a couple fixtures here. Down an inch.
And Paul, you want these dimensions to be on the lighting layer, right?
Yeah.
Red versus pink.
Yes, I think that that's perfectly fine to do that. Mm-hmm.
Would it technically be wrong? I mean, I guess sometimes there is no right and wrong, it's preference, but like if you just create another dimension layer.
Well, like I was saying earlier, no, that would not be wrong. In fact, that technically would be the right way to do it. And the reason that I'm not doing it here is just to, I'm looking at the overall of what we're producing, what our final product is, and it's one lighting layer with everything kind of on that one layer. But yes, if I were producing construction drawings, I would create a new layer and I'd put my dimensions and my text on the new layer. I would, but I don't mean to be contradicting myself here, but I think for this project here, putting it on the same layer is perfectly fine.
What if we already put it on the dimension layer?
Then kudos. Great. That's great. Oh no, well, wait a minute. What you don't want to do is put it on the regular dimension layer. this layer. You don't want to do that because if I do, let me just put some of these dimensions on that layer just for giggles here. So they disappeared here because I have that dimension layer turned off. But if I go over to my base building plan, I do have some overall dimensions here on the base building plan. And look, these are showing up on my base building plan. So I don't want to see those. In fact, I don't want to see a lot of this stuff, but we'll get back to that in a couple minutes. If you are going to put those dimensions, let me just undo that. If you are going to put these dimensions on a layer, put them on their own new layer, like lighting dimensions.
And are these dimensions in model space?
No.
No, they're in paper.
They're in white
still.
paper space.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, all right. I think you get the drift here. So I have my UCS changed, and I'm just gonna, I'm putting these dimensions in. So what I don't like is that these dimensions are upside down, right? So I'm gonna take one and I'm gonna reverse it. So I'm gonna go over to properties, and then where was it? It's all the way on the bottom. Down here, we're under text. It says text view direction, and it's set by default left to right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it to right to left. And now that 16:6 is a little bit easier for me to read. So do I need to do it for all of them? Well, what if we use match properties? Let's see what happens. So it changes them for us. So we don't need to change these because these look good, but it's just these that are upside down that we're going to want to change. So you'll need to, finish up the dimensioning on here. I just wanted to get you going on it, and hopefully it helped with locating some of these fixtures that might have been a little tricky. Yeah, I'm sorry. What was your question?
Oh, so you have those dimensions on white model space, but you want them in white paper.
No, I do not want them in paper space. I want them in white model space.
Okay, okay. I thought Kieran asked that, and
Yeah,
Oh, did I say paper?
yeah,
yes.
Oh, all right. Sorry. No, yeah, they should be in white model space. I'm very
Okay.
sorry. That's wrong. So, yeah, absolutely. They need to be in white model space. Do your dimensioning in white model space. All right. Sorry about that. I don't know. I misspoke on that. All right. So let's talk about notes, legend reflected ceiling plan legend that we're going to put into this tiny little space here. And then they want reflected ceiling plan notes in this tiny space over here. So this is wacky, really tight, but we're gonna make it work, because sometimes you're in a situation where you do need to make it work. And this is what I would do probably is I would have probably put my lighting notes, my general notes up here, and I'd do the lighting plan down here, or the lighting legend over here. But the way that it's shown on the example is the lighting legend is over here and the other notes are here. So that's the way that I'm going to do it. So we're going to do notes not in white model space, but in black model space. But before we get over to black model space, we want to double check the scale of our viewport. So I'm just clicking on the viewport to check the scale, and it is set to 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so now let me just deselect that. I'm going to go to model space, and I want to make sure down here that my my scale is the same, and it is 1/8 of an inch. So that's the first thing that you want to do. The next thing I think we're going to do is go back to our world coordinate system. So I'm just going to right click on this and just go to world. So now we're back to regular drawing. Otherwise, if I was on that skewed UCS user coordinate system, then all of my text would be following that direction. I don't want to do that. Okay. So I have a lighting legend, and I'm just going to plop it. It's somewhere on the drawing. I'm going to put it over here. And what I need to do is I need to I need to get the block for each one of these objects each one of these light fixtures that we're going to that we have indicated on here. So I've got that, and then I've got the 2x2 fixture here, and I've got the pendant fixture, and then I've got the little 6-inch little mini pendant here, and then I've got some downlights, and those downlights I'm gonna put over here. I'm gonna have 2 columns of downlights, and I'll start with A here. And then I'll just come over here and just copy. We've got a total of 4 of them. So I have my ortho on 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for these, I'm going to show the little direction arrows. I'll just drag those in. Oops. Trying to find that insertion point. There it is. And I'll just copy. Oh, you know what I'll do? This whole thing. And now I need to change the little annotation here. This one's A. We'll change this one to B. So all I'm doing is double clicking on it, and then I can change that that symbol D. Okay. All right. So now I've got a lot of typing to do here, but I'm only going to do 1 or 2, and then I will just copy the other ones that I typed before class. So let me go to annotate. Well, first of all, I'm on my lighting layer, so I'm going to draw my text on my lighting layer. I'm going to go to annotate, and we're going to do so we need to set the size. So usually I put titles or room names and things like that at 1/8 of an inch, and sometimes titles. Drawing titles, if I've got a big, reflected ceiling plan, I'll do at 3/16, and then at 3/32, which is the smallest, is what I'll put notes in. So I'm going to choose 3/32 here, and I'm going to do multi-line text. So I have 2 options, multi-line and single line. If yours says single line, just click on multi-line. And then we're going to draw a text box that is just going to, come out. We'll just come out some distance here. And all right, so now I am going to do a little typing here. So Philips Leadlight, that's the model, or jump Leadlight jump, I guess. LED luminaire, and it will be, and these are, so now I'm typing the spec for it. So splash perforation, 8-foot length. Luminous end caps. That's pretty nice. Color will be white. 54 watts. T5 HO. 835 lamp. And, if you've taken the lighting class, suspension mount, 96 inches. I know that they will get into this in a lot more detail. So I'm done typing. I can either hit the escape key and it'll ask me, do I want to save your text changes? I'll say yes. Or I could, up here, there was a little checkbox here, and that closes the text editor. All right, so let me move these down out of my way, and I'm going to make this longer. So this is going to kind of span. I'm going to have text for these, and I'm going to have text for these, and this one just is taking a lot of space. So I'm just going to pull that out so that it is, spanning this and this. So how did I do that again? So I just select it, and there are some grips here. A left grip, this is sort of the start point. And this grip here, it's actually an arrow, allows me to change the width of the text. So I'm just going to go out, and I'm just going to extend it out so that it's only on 2 lines. Okay, beautiful. So let me do one more over here. Again, I'm at 330 seconds, multi-line text, and I'm going to just kind of go from here to, I don't know, about here. And now Philips. So a 2x2 LED arc form. Troffer. So the troffer is sometimes you see, particularly when you see fluorescent light fixtures, they'll be in like an egg crate, kind of grid or troffer, and that egg crate, or sometimes it's just a plastic lens. That's called the troffer there. But these, and I'm sure you probably have seen the LED fixtures. A lot of them sort of have this arced troffer that the light shines up on that arc and then reflects down. So you're really getting indirect light on the from the fixture. It's actually really nice. So 3500K. So we're specifying the temperature or the color of the light. The color of the light is specified by temperature. 3500K is generally similar to incandescent lighting. It just has a little bit of a more yellow rather than that bluish or greenish color. Let's say 4400 lumens and 52 watts. Okay. And then, so this time I could have hit the escape key, but this time I'll just click close text editor, and there we go. So now I'll just move this. I'm just using the move tool, and I'm just kind of moving it into place. We're really tight on space, so I'm kind of squeezing things over and making sure that I am going to conserve as much as possible on space. So now I will copy this down here, more or less. And then this time, or I could create a new text box, but I like doing this so that all of my everything is left justified and lines up. And then I'll double click and start typing over here, pendant with 4 watt CFL lamps mounted at 90 inches AFF above finished floor. So I'll move this so it kind of centers, and maybe I'll move this up a little bit. So now I'm going to cheat. Going to take these and move them, copy them over here. So there I've typed all that up. earlier. So I've got my my text in place here and my blocks here showing what each of those fixtures are. So let's flip back to our lighting plan. And let me create a viewport. So I'm going to go to my layout tab. I will click create a rectangular viewport. And I'm going to start here and go, I don't know, I'm going to put the rest of that text over here. So I'm just going to kind of go right here. Well, okay, it went all the way over there, but I'll just move this over. All right, so let's go over here. Well, actually, the first thing I'm going to do is put this on the viewports layer. Okay. Now I'll double click inside and start zooming in. Kind of get this right. And now let's set the scale to 1/8 inch. So I'll come down here, set my scale to 1/8 inch, and let's see how it works. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm just going to pan over here. I mean, that is really, really tight. And I'm just going to make my viewport a little wider here. Make sure that I've got all my info shown. And I think this is just, for me, this is just a little too tight. So I'm just going to move. I think I'm going to move. I'm not sure what those little circles are. I think I might have copied something I shouldn't have. Oh no, that's fine. Okay, that's a little better. So we're going to have to deal with a title for this that says lighting legend, but I'll deal with that in a minute or two. Okay, so now over here I've got a plethora of text that I need to type. So let's go back to model space, black model space here. And I'm going to do my text over here. So let me just go over here, looking at my notes so I can start it. And again, I'm not going to type all of it, but I will start it for you. So I'm going to go over to annotate, and we're still at 330 seconds. I'm going to go to multi-line text, and I'm going to create a text box. I could over here, but I'll just put it down here. Okay. Now, this is going to be, these notes are going to be numbered, so we can do bullets and numbering in our text boxes, which is really nice. We used to not be able to do that, so this is a relatively new feature that I like. So bullets and numbering is right up here, and I'm going to click on it, and we want to number. We can do lettering or bullets, but I'm just going to do number text here, and it's, you know, it's great because it sets a left margin for us and an indentation. I mean, it's super cool. So, all right, so we get in the text box and provide a building standard ceiling system. So what is that? That means that whatever the landlord uses as his ceiling system, you know, if he's using Armstrong, whatever it is, whatever his ceiling tiles are, that's what we're going to use. We're not going to deviate from what the landlord standard is. Item 2 is, and see how it just creates item number 2 for me. It's just super cool. Provide concealed. Good spell. Flush mounted sprinklers. Should be sprinkler heads, but that's fine, with chrome caps as required by code for partition layouts. So what does that mean? So that's telling the contractor that we need sprinklers. Right, where this building is going to be sprinklered, and we need to have sprinkler heads in the ceiling. And the type of sprinkler heads, there's a whole bunch of different kinds. Sometimes they're just exposed and you can see that sprinkler head, but other times there's just a little cap. And so when the sprinklers go off, the pressure of the water hitting it pushes the cap down or off the ceiling, and it actually boinks down onto the floor. Or sometimes it just lowers, but more often than not, it just falls on the floor. And then the sprinklers are open to spray and sprinkle the space. So we're doing concealed sprinklers here that are flush mounted, and I misspelled chrome, and we're putting in chrome caps. Sometimes, a lot of times, they are white caps to match the color of the ceiling, and it kind of makes them go away. But in this case, the designer wants to use chrome caps though, so that's fine. So, all right, so I've started that, but again, let me just cheat and just bring this over here. Only because I just don't want you to have to sit and watch me type. So, but you know what, while we're here, let's just read through them and so that we know what we're typing. So 1 and 2, let's look at number 3. Provide and install building standard HVAC per code and partition layout. So that is telling the contractor that he needs to provide HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning in each of the rooms throughout the space. So we, as the designers, we're not designing that. We're putting the responsibility of designing the HVAC system on the contractor. And sometimes that happens. More often than not, we do need to at least consult with an HVAC person. We won't design it ever, but we might have an engineer that we are partnering with that may do the design for us. So, but in this case, the contractor is going to be responsible for doing that. Let's see, number 4, contractor to verify ceiling clearances and notify the designer, you, of any conflicts with the lighting locations before construction. So what does that mean? So above that ceiling, above that lay-in ceiling that we've got, there's ductwork. And it's running all over the place over that ceiling. And sometimes that ductwork is running low, so that when the ceiling goes in, that's fine, the ceiling will go in. But once in a while, you want to put a light fixture in right below a duct and it doesn't fit. There's not enough space for the thickness of that light fixture, particularly can lights, because those are a lot deeper than just the 2 foot by 2 foot lay-in LED fixtures. So that means that either a duct needs to move, or you as the designer go, well, all right, so we'll move that fixture over, 8 inches or 10 inches to the right or something like that. So that's to tell the contractor, you don't get to make the decision as to what to do. The designer makes the decision as to what to do. All right, battery backups. Provide emergency battery backs or emergency circuits as required by code. So that is when, a lot of times when you go into buildings, public buildings, you'll see on the wall or sometimes hanging on the ceiling that battery box. It's a box, and then it has two light bulbs that are sticking out on it, and those get positioned to shine into the room. So if power goes out in the building, those things automatically pop on and you have light in the space, so that you're not feeling around in the dark if the lights go out and you're trying to find the exit. The other part of that is so those are the emergency battery backups, and actually this should say backups. Or emergency circuits. So emergency circuits are power. A circuit is power that will go to selected light fixtures, like the fixtures that you install, that we are installing on the project, so that those lights are on 24/7. They're always on. So in that case, you don't need those emergency backup that, sit on the wall, because, as designers, sometimes we find those a little bit unsightly and we don't like seeing those in certain spaces. So that is an alternate, and this is giving the contractor or the landlord the opportunity to either choose the battery backups or the emergency circuits. Next one is the general contractor shall be responsible for the final quantity and location of emergency light fixtures having jurisdiction. So that means that we're not going to locate them. We're not going to tell the contractor where to put each one of those emergency battery packs. We're going to leave that to the contractor and probably to the landlord to decide where those should go. Next one, dimmers and switches are mounted 42 inches above finished floor. So that's telling the contractor where the light switches are, 42 inches above finished floor, AFF, and are to be ganged separately in the largest multi-gang with a common faceplate. So that means, if we've got 4 or 5 or 6 light fixtures, ideally what we want to do is get them all in one gang box, so that and then with one faceplate, so that it looks nice and they're all lined up within one, and we've got one faceplate. And I think the most you can get is 6. So if we've got more than 6, we're talking about 2 of them. So that in that case, you would do 3 and 3 just to make it look nice. So that's all that is. And then the last one is motorized projection system to be coordinated with system supplier Lutron and the electrical engineers. So what was that? Projection system, I assume, is some kind of a projector that is suspended from the ceiling. So that's motorized, so it will come down from the ceiling some amount when we're wanting to use it. And we're coordinating with the system supplier. That means, what does that supplier require in order for that projection system to work, and the electrical engineer. He's got to bring power to it, right? We as the designers, we're not going to bring power to that, but so we're shifting the responsibility of bringing that power over to the electrical engineer. So blah 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 blah. I guess I didn't really need to talk about that, but I just think that you should always know what you're what you're writing, when you're doing these. Okay, so now somehow we got to get this whole big block of text onto our lighting plan. So I'm going to go back to my lighting plan here, and ideally that text needs to go here. So let's create I'm going to go over to my layout tab, and I'm going to create another viewport. And right away, I'm going to just change the layer of it, put it on my viewports layer. And now I will just go in here. I've double clicked, so I'm in white model space now. And I'm just going to zoom in as much as I possibly can. So I'm going to bring it in here, and let me click on it and go to 1/8 inch, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to change the scale of that viewport to 1/8 inch. And yeah, as I thought, it's just too big. It's just not going to fit in here, right? So we're going to squeeze this text down. We're going to make it a little smaller. So I'm going to go back into paper space here, and I'm just going to pull back. Wait, let me go into model space so I can zoom in, so you can see this clearly. So I'm in white model space, and I've pulled this back. And what I want to do is just make it as big as possible. So there is a nice little tool, and that is zoom window. So what I will do is I'm just going to type the letter Z for zoom, and I have a whole bunch of options here. Right here, scale and previous, etc. But one of them is window, and I can just type W. I could also just type ZW, and this will work. So zoom window, and now I need to draw a window around this text. I'm going to get close around it, and I'm telling AutoCAD, zoom into this viewport so that all of this text fits and make it as big as possible. That's all I'm telling it. So I'm getting that window in here and it's zoomed in. So that looks actually okay. That looks pretty good, I think. So yes, this text is bigger than this text, and that's normally what we don't want, but that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to show. So now the last thing I need to do is I want to plop a few little titles here for the lighting legend and for the reflected ceiling plan notes. So, and I'm going to put them up here. I've got that line here at the top of my title block extends all the way across here. I'm going to move, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this whole viewport here up a little bit. And maybe actually I'll move it even a little more. Just to get a little bit of space down here. And maybe I'll just make this viewport window a little smaller. I just want to get some space over here. All right, should I do this in paper space or model space? I think I'm going to do it in in model space. So that's the right way to do it. So I'm going to go back here to model space. And let's put in some titles. So I'm going to go over to annotate. And this time my titles are going to be bigger. So I'm going to make them 1/8 of an inch. And they'll only be on one line. So I'm going to do single line text. And I'll just go right here. And it's asking me for a rotation angle. I want it just to be 0. So I'll just hit my enter key. And I will call this my lighting. And leaving a little bit of space here that may have to change, but we'll leave it like that for now. And then over here, I will do the same over here for my reflected ceiling plan notes. So I'll just go here. And 0 degrees, and I will call this reflected notes. Now, you know what? Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Because we've reduced the size of this, and I want this to be bigger or come close to this size, I'm going to make this text a little bit bigger. I'm going to make this text, rather than 1/8 inch, I'm going to make it 3/16 inch, but I've already typed it. So what does that mean? Do I need to retype it? Well, not exactly. So I'm going to double click on it and I'm going to select it. And now I'll go over to my properties over here and let's look. Down here, the annotation scale is 1/8 of an inch. Can I change that? No, it's not letting me change it. Okay, that's, you know why? That's because I've got a style set. So let's see. Do I have a style here? My type style is the text style. Oh boy. Okay, so I guess I can't change it from here. So let's try, see if I can change it from here. No, that's not. Okay, no. Oh, so if I just did general, just general notes, I would be able to make these. I would be able to change this text height, but it's not really letting me do that. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to create some 3/16 text, and I could do reflected ceiling notes, but I do want to show you one more thing, and that's about matching properties. So now this is the bigger text, and I'm just going to call this, well, I'll just call it reflected. Now, what I can do is I can go back to my home ribbon here and I can match properties. Click on that and then change that to that. So if you already have bigger text, you can easily use match properties and change the size of your text to match it. All right, so there is my reflected ceiling notes, my lighting legend. Let's go back to our lighting plan. I don't see either, but what I'll do is I'll just select my viewport and let's just extend that viewport up some distance there. Oh, there it is. And let's select this one and bring that one up. There's my reflected ceiling plan notes. Actually, that's pretty good. Let's just move that lighting legend down a little bit. And I'm using the eyeball method here. I'm just kind of getting the distance so that they more or less line up in viewports. Okay, good. And the last thing I want to do is just to make this look a little more finished. I'm going to copy this line of this is the line of my title block, and I'm just going to copy it up. Let me put my ortho back on. I'm going to copy it up. So I'm just going to kind of like box this out. And then I'm going to put a line over here between my reflected ceiling plan notes and my lighting legends. So let's let me copy this line here. Now I could just draw a line. I certainly could, but I'm just kind of doing it the lazy person's method here. Just going to bring that line over here. And then I'll just extend. I can either extend or I'm just going to use grips to pull it up. And over here, let me just so I can get at this. I'm just going to move that viewport so it's off that line. Good. And now I'll just fill it. So now when I plot, let's see if I can do a plot preview here. Yeah. So there I've got my lighting legend and my reflected ceiling notes, kind of boxed out. And I just brought that up just to make that look, a little more finished and polished. So there we go. A little bit of a lighter session today. I guarantee you next week's will certainly be longer as we talk about orthographic projection, etc. But so what you need to do is, if you haven't finished up your lighting, please do finish it up. Get some dimensions in here. Get your lighting legend and your reflected ceiling plan notes onto your title block, and then upload it to Blackboard, and you will be golden. Any questions before I stop sharing?
And next week, you mean
I'm
November
sorry.
30th?
I'm sorry,
Right.
Rebecca, could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
By next week, you mean November 30th? Not next, 2 weeks from now, because it's Thanksgiving, right?
No.
We're only off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for Thanksgiving
Yeah,
weeks.
we
Monday,
got
Oh.
classes you have.
lucky. We have a class.
Well, I'm glad you told me. I'm glad I asked.
So
Okay.
yes, it is the 30th. Yes. So I will be able to say happy Thanksgiving to you all, which I will not say today.
Okay.
Anyone else? Anything else? This should
So
be pretty straightforward, hopefully.
For next week, we only need to do the legends.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul, go ahead, Rebecca, sorry. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I unmuted already. Just
Oh.
one quick question. I noticed that there were exit signs in the DWG file. Are we supposed to put exit signs?
N-
Anywhere?
No, they are
Okay.
not shown here.
Okay.
So I am not going to ask you to put those in. Oh, you know what? Are you talking about this fixture right here, this emergency light? If you,
Sorry, yes.
yeah, you know what? This is the battery backup fixture that I was talking about. You know, it's
Okay,
in the middle there is that rectangle, that's the battery, and then the two
yeah,
circles are the and I don't think that we're showing those on this plan. So and the reason is we're giving the responsibility to the contractor to do.
Okay.
So a little sneaky of us, but that's what we're doing. So Karen, I'm sorry, you had a question.
In the beginning of class, you were talking about I think it's in the room to the right, the second room where there's a big table. And I think you said that there was like A lighting or, the can lighting that was directed, but on the handout, it's not. It's only on,
Did I show it wrong? What in
yeah,
this room here?
no, over to the right. The room with the conference table in it.
So this one,
Next, no, go up one
this room.
with the big circle table. See the C's? The C lights?
These down here.
Yeah, those only show regular light. They don't show like the
Oh,
direct.
you're right. And you know what? In fact, oh my gosh, I'm so
You have it
Oh,
flipped.
perfect.
It should be the opposite.
yeah. In fact, they should be up here. So these should be the C's and the A's should be down here.
But
So-
also where the A's are, they should be one square further away from the wall.
Right. So I'm gonna see if I can't correct that right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mirror these. So I'm drawing a line here that will hopefully serve as the midpoint.
Paul, I don't think you can mirror them. If you mirror them, the text is going to be upside down.
Well, let's see.
Because I'm pretty sure I've tried to do that in lighting class where we have to label our fixtures too. And I think I tried and it would like make my letters upside down.
Well, let me see. So, oh, well, you know what? Let's mirror both of them at the same time. So let me grab these. Well, first, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move these A's down. Because I think those go here. All right. So let me grab this. Let's go from that midpoint. Yeah, look at that. So that text is in fact upside down. So let me undo that and let me try something. I'm going to type MIRRTEXT, mirror text. And right now the value for mirror text is 1, which is on. Let's change it to 0. Let's see what happens. So now, let me select them. Midpoint, and this time I am gonna erase the source objects. So they're at the top and not the bottom, but that's okay. And they are not mirrored. So there's one for your little tool tricks bag. It's a command line and it's called mirror text, MIRR for mirror, and then TEXT for mirror text. And it is a toggle. That means it's either set to 0, which is off, or on, which is on. So do we want to mirror the text? Right now it's set to 0. So that means no, I don't want to. So I'm going to leave it on 0 for now. And now let's mirror these. And yes, if you want that letter to be in the lower right-hand corner of the object rather than the upper right-hand corner, then yes, you'll just copy or move it. But this gives me an opportunity to show you mirror text because I guarantee you no one else is going to show you that. So do I want to erase? Yes, I do. So now I've got my wall washers on that wall. I can get rid of this guideline here, and I've got my text mirrored.
And you want it one, like, I'm just looking at the example and you want it one square up, so like a square and a half above, because on the example, you have like a half a square and then.
You're right.
a square.
You're right. So
Okay.
let me move, and you're totally right.
For the A's,
Yeah, well, also for the C's, I see.
yeah, yep.
So, yeah, all of them. You're completely right.
This lighting plan's kind of a pain in the butt.
No kidding. No kidding. I'm glad you said it.
Note to self, don't do lighting plans in the future.
Well, I'll tell
Makes
you,
me worried for the office studio. For sure.
when I first got a job, my very first project working in an office, we were doing work for Cook County Hospital. Now, Cook County Hospital, they've actually torn most of it down, and now it's a hotel, believe it or not. And then behind it is the new Cook County Hospital, which has been renamed to John Stroger. And I don't know how much you know about Cook County Hospital, but like interns fight to do their internship there because you see the most strange things come into that hospital. So actually, I'm digressing a little bit because this is just a good story. So we were remodeling the hospital department by department. Like, we did emergency, and then we did pediatric emergency, and then cardiac catheterization and gynecology. We just went through the whole thing and remodeled it department by department. And it was in a really, really old building that was built in like 1898. Anyway, so I was field measuring the emergency room because we wanted to know where the walls were, and then we were going to move them and where the columns were. So, I'm kind of like behind the triage desk. So triage is, in case you don't know, when you come into the emergency room, there's a triage person, and they do a quick examination and a determination of where to direct you. Do you go to, the emergency room or the waiting room or the morgue or wherever. So I'm kind of behind the triage desk, and there's a triage nurse, two of them back there. And we were just kind of talking as I'm doing my measuring. And so these two guys come in, and they're wearing coats. The one guy had like this overcoat, and he's got his arm around his buddy, and he's like, you really need to help my buddy here. We were having a fight, and this is what happened. And he opened up the coat, and there was a screwdriver stuck right into the middle of the guy's chest. And I started to like I didn't pass out, but my eyes bugged out. I was like, oh my God, like this kind of stuff happens. And it's just like, to this day, it still stays with me. That poor guy. The other guy was just like, he's just like wide-eyed. He wasn't saying anything. He's like, look, we were having an argument, and I was holding a screwdriver, and I stabbed the guy. So anyway, my first job getting out of school was ceilings. They put me on doing reflected ceiling plans, and I cannot tell you how many reflected ceiling plans I had to do. It was just, and I don't want to age myself, but this was like before the 8 days of CAD. So I was drawing these ceiling plans by hand. They took forever and a day. So you should be glad that you're doing them by CAD, I guess, is the moral of the story. So anyway, so that's your goal for next week. get your ceiling plan done with your dimensions and your lighting legend and your reflected ceiling plan notes.